Oh, okay.
I can whistle for 3 minutes. Is that
We're going to start. Thank you everyone for coming. Deborah Decker is going to talk to us about everything you need to know about GRE.
So we want to turn off maybe one set of lights, just so it's a little, well, maybe not that set. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yay! We'll see if you're cheering later. Okay. So first I'm going to go over kind of the abbreviated version of grad school, kind of some of the tips and hints that you need to know, because honestly, if you're not interested in grad school, who cares about the GRE? Okay?
That's true. That's very accurate.
For a lot of people, the GRE is the worst part of applying for grad school, but we'll get there. Okay, so basically when we use the general term graduate school, we're talking about any advanced degree, so anything above a bachelor's. So that can be your master's program, your PhD, your PsyD, your psych majors, all those fall under graduate programs. Know that at almost every institution that you go to, you are going to pay more in tuition for your graduate degree than you do for undergraduate credits. Okay, there's always a little bit of sticker shock. So just know that that's normal. It is normal for credits to cost more. If you're looking online currently right now at psych programs, you're probably looking at anything in between $600 and $1,000 a credit hour. Yeah, let the shock set in, yeah. So it is a little bit expensive, but you know, this is an investment in your future. I suggest that students start looking at grad schools really the end of their sophomore, the beginning of their junior year. Finding and selecting a grad school can be almost like another 3-credit class, the time that you put in. Some graduate programs have specific prerequisites. The sooner you key on that, the sooner you can make sure you're taking what you need in order to be accepted. We suggest that you apply to 5 to 10 schools. I know that sounds like a lot, but you want to have choices. Okay, you don't want to feel like, well, I'm going here to graduate school because they're the only one I applied to and I got accepted and so here I am. Okay, if you're going to invest the time and the money into graduate school, you want to make sure that you've got a broad spectrum. We also suggest that you apply for some, like, this is the top end, this is my dream school, and then apply for some that, okay, I would be okay with this, okay, to bridge that gap. It is competitive. Don't let that put you off, because even if you look at a program, they accept 6 students a year, well, somebody's got to be accepted, right? Might as well be you. Okay, so don't let that throw you off. I suggest that you take your GRE about 2 months before the application deadline. Just because some students, if you put off taking the GRE, number one, you can get yourself in trouble with getting your scores in time. Usually they're pretty fast. Now we can get them in about 2 weeks. But if something happens and it takes a month, you don't want to not complete your application because you didn't have your GRE scores. The other reason I suggest that you take it about 2 months in advance is because the GRE is so big in most of our minds that we won't move on to the rest of the application process until we've gone through that GRE torture first. Okay, and you need time to finish those other pieces, which we'll talk about just briefly. Let's see, when we look at graduate school applications, they're all different. There's no like one size fits all as far as graduate applications go. Every school has their different things that they're looking for, but there are some similarities. So if, you know, the sound of applying to 10 schools sounds like, oh my gosh, that's so much work, realize that once you've applied to one, it'll get easier to apply to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Okay, you'll just make some small adjustments. The common elements, yeah, Keith?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah. No, you're not, no
I'm
question.
not sure if this is one way similar. As far as the GRE score, valid for, how long is it valid for?
5 years.
Okay.
Good question. It's valid for 5 years. That's another reason not to put it off.
So they can take it to really 5 years if you want to.
Right. Most people don't, because you want to have the majority of your coursework done. That helps you pass the GRE.
Based on
Quota.
that 5-year mark, do colleges or universities look at that? They're like, oh, you took it so many years ago.
As long as you're within the 5 years, you're fine. But if you're beyond the 5 years, most of them will tell you, take it again. We won't accept your application.
What percentile do most places look for?
They're all different. I've looked at probably at least 150 graduate programs at this point, and they're all different. Some of them have minimum standards, some of them have a combination grade and GRE score, so they're all different. And when you do your research, most graduate schools are very open with you about not only what the minimum cutoffs are, but what the average scores of those they accept are. There can be a huge difference, so don't fall into the trap of, well, this is the minimum score, I made it just above, I'm fine, because you may find out that even though this is the minimum score to be accepted, everyone that got accepted last year was here, okay? So just don't get caught by that. They do have, most of them do have minimum requirements, but you also want to look at what's the average of the acceptance rate.
If you're unhappy with your score, can you retain?
Yes, you can, although, okay, things have recently changed. It used to be that when you took it, you had to report your scores. If you took it more than once, you had to report both scores. Some schools would take the higher score, some schools would take an aggregate of both scores. Now they're saying you can choose whether to send that score on or not. Now, like I say, this is a change that's happened in the last year, so I haven't had a lot of students go through that trying not to report a score they didn't like. So I'm a little hesitant about how that is going to exactly work. But that's what they are saying now, is that you can choose. If you didn't like the score, you can retake it and only send the one that you want to send the program you're applying for. Good questions. You usually always have to submit some kind of personal statement. Sometimes they tell you just submit a personal statement. Sometimes they tell you to answer a specific question. For most psych majors, this is one of the hardest parts, because this is a statement about you. It's a statement about why you fit with their program, about what you can bring to their program, and a lot of psych students have a hard time talking about themselves. Is what's the one thing we're not supposed to write? In APA papers, no eyes, okay? So it can be challenging. We do recommend that start on your personal statement early. Take it to instructors, take it to the writing center, have friends look at it. This is the one piece where you get to kind of really make yourself stand out. Everybody who applies is going to have a degree, right? Otherwise they wouldn't be applying. But your personal statement can be something really different. Most of them do ask for letters of recommendation. Most of them also ask for either a CV or a resume. Excuse me. A CV it's actually a circumvite. It's like a resume, only it's what we use in educational circles. So it's much more detailed. You can find, sometimes they'll have a specific format they want it in. They'll give that to you. Or they'll accept any. And you can find templates online. And our Career Center actually will look at those for you if you want. But your professors also are a really good resource for, ask them for theirs, most of them will share it. Okay. And then finally, what we're here about tonight, GRE scores. Not every graduate school requires a GRE. Okay, so not all of them do, but most of them do. I have a lot of students ask me about the subject-specific test. As far as psychology goes, most programs do not want you to take the subject-specific. The general test is fine, which saves you like $150. So, okay, personal statements. Start writing early. Have at least 2 professors review it. Take it to the writing center, career center, other students. It's nice if you do your personal statement early, because then you can give it to a professor when you ask them for a letter of recommendation, and it helps them write a better letter. Okay. Letters of recommendation, please, 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 make sure you give your professors enough time. They're busy. You don't want them to do a rush job either, okay? You want this letter to be the best it can be. So I suggest 30 days prior. Usually your letters of recommendations are professors. There are some exceptions. If you're looking to go into a Master's of Social Work, a lot of time they want you to have at least one letter from a social worker, okay? If you can give the professor your personal statement, a copy of your CV, they're going to write you a better letter. Even if it's not perfect, even if it's not in your final draft form, give them something, okay? That'll help them. Please, please, please don't ask family to write those letters. I have a lot of students who apply for the Master's in Education and High School Counseling and they get letters from their personal therapists. Don't do that either, okay? Don't ask friends. These are professional letters of recommendations. They need to be professors, people you've worked with in the field, those kinds of things. Places you volunteered, if you've got a supervisor, you know, sometimes those are applicable as well. Okay, Dakota?
Do you suggest getting mainly like if you're a psychology major, get mainly psychology versions of letters of recommendation, or like?
Depends on the program you're going into.
Okay.
Okay, so like if you're a student who's interested in one of our intersect areas, like if you're looking at IO, then perhaps having an employer or a business professor, someone else that you have a connection with that's still a professional resume builder for you, then that would be appropriate. But if you're applying for a degree within your program, whether that be psychology, whether that be history, whether that be, you know, math, you want those professors. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, your CV, ask your professors for examples. These are usually long, pages and pages, okay? This is not a one page, you don't want to be the one page wonder, okay? And while you're in school, be doing things that you can put on your CV. Get extra certifications, get volunteer experience, do an internship, those kinds of things all go on your CV. Barbara? She's been working on hers already. Make sure you have yours reviewed by the Career Center as well as your professors. Both of those. You pay in your student fees for the Career Center. Use it. Use it. It's a free service to you. Okay, now we get into the GRE, okay? All right. So the GRE is the most common general exam, especially for psych, to get into a graduate program. Think of it kind of like the ACT or SAT. It's a general exam, okay? It's very similar. It's administered by ETS, which is the nonprofit organization. Okay, we need that, you know, unbiased. Oh, and I'm sorry, that website doesn't show up. But if you Google GRE, you look for the official site that has ETS on it, and that will get you all kinds of information. They'll also ask you to create an account, which is, you know, fine, standard. So there's 3 sections in the GRE. There's verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analytical writing. Plan on 4 hours. I know that seems like forever, but plan on 4 hours. It does take about 4 hours. Okay. I would also suggest don't have anything else that you're going to try and do that's mentally challenging afterwards. Okay? So planning the GRE for the morning when you've got a big exam in research methods, that same day, don't do it. Don't do it. You will be done. You'll be mentally done. You'll be ready to go home and, you know, watch reruns of SpongeBob when you're done. Okay? Okay, so let's go over a little bit. Verbal reasoning. Okay? They recently changed this section. About 3 years ago, it wasn't as diverse, didn't take in as many things, so now they're looking at a lot of different things. They're looking at how you analyze things, how you draw conclusions. Are you logical? Are you able to reason from incomplete data? Okay, things that we look at. They're looking at, can you read something and figure out what the author wanted you to get out of it? Author's intent. All those kinds of things are a part of verbal reasoning. Finding the high points in a passage. Can you do that? Can you sift out the important parts? Of course, the meaning of words. vocabulary is the one thing that you cannot cram. So start working now, okay? There are some, I've even heard of some apps that you can get that'll send you GRE words. There's lists that you can get online of GRE words. These are not words that we use every day, okay? Yeah, no, Martha, no, yeah. There's a lot of different philosophies about how to do the prepping for the vocabulary part. Some people say it's best just to do a word a day. Other people say it's best to study a category of words. But as long as you're doing something, as long as you're moving forward, but like I say, this is the one thing that you can't really cram.
Also, I think what works is to study the root of the word.
Yep, study the root of the word.
I'm an international student and I'm studying with American people for the GRE, and not even American people even know these words exist in English. So I'm telling you, it's horrible.
Yeah, there are some study methods that teach you how to identify, is a word Greek? Is a word, what's the basis? Is it Latin? That can sometimes be helpful. Sometimes you can tell from context, but not always. So just, like I say, that would be something that I would say, start tomorrow. Start tomorrow. Just learn a new word every day. Okay, quantitative reasoning. Try to insert a little humor. I love minions. Math, okay? Usually here, you're looking at quantitative information. So we're talking about numbers, right? There's going to be basic skills, there's going to be concepts, there's going to be algebra, there's going to be geometry. We were talking just at the beginning about, for some of us, it's been a long time since we've taken geometry, okay? It's on there. It's on there. Data interpretation. Usually that's not where we're tripping up because most of us, intro stats, behavioral statistics, you're prepared for that. One positive change that they made to the GRE is you can now, if you're taking the computer-based test, they'll allow you to use an on-screen calculator. You didn't used to have that. You had to do everything by hand. So, woo-hoo, thank you for this change, okay? With the quantitative reasoning sections, because you're going to have 2 sections of each, okay? Quantitative reasoning, I think, is 35 minutes. You want to be able to work the problem. The nice part is they allow you to skip forward in the test within the section. Okay, you can't go on to the next section, but within that section, if you need to skip problems, skip them. If you're like, I have no idea, skip, go to the next one. It's better to go to 2 more problems that you can answer than to really struggle on one and get the 1 point from that question. Okay?
Can you go back?
Yeah,
Yes,
that
you
was my
can go
question.
back. You can go back.
Cool.
Good question.
That was my question.
Yep, you can go back. You can even, they allow you to somehow notate on the side, like this is what I want to look at again.
Are there any accommodations for those that are disabled, like no disabilities at all?
I have not heard of any.
Actually, if you go to their site, they do have something that you can look at for disability, and when you go through it, you do the process.
Yeah, and it's very limited what they'll do for you. I've never had a student with disabilities take the GRE, to be honest. But you should investigate it, and if you find out, let me know. Because, there's also, I think I put on I have a flyer for you guys again. There also is a reduce the cost waiver that most students don't do. Might as well investigate that. It's pretty expensive, so. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the math part. Analytical writing. Your writing tasks are always the first section. Okay, the others can be, who knows what they're going to give you. Okay, but the writing is usually always first. It's nice now. Most of us take the computer-based test, so we're typing, which is what we're used to doing, not writing by longhand. Okay. That helps those of us that have terrible handwriting too. I don't know if they'll be able to read it and understand what I'm saying. Here, they're also looking for critical thinking, coherent sentences. Are you able to synthesize the ideas? Okay. There are several things, several resources that have writing prompts. Okay. There's no real way to prep for this other than to do it.
Will they tell you if they want an APA style or MLA style, or do you just gotta figure that out?
Okay, in here, you're not necessarily worried about APA or MLA style, because you're not doing like citations. Of course, you want it to be professional writing, which, whether you're doing MLA or APA, you're not using slang, you're not using abbreviations, you're, professional. You're capitalizing everything you should. Those kinds of things kind of go without saying. But as far as style goes, this is the general test, so they don't have a specific style. Okay, and honestly, I think APA writing prepares you better for this than some other styles of writing, because you're used to taking arguments, taking articles, taking studies, looking at them critically, and then putting them together and coming up with some new ideas. So I think you're uniquely prepared for this part of the test. Like all the other sections, you'll have 2 writing things that you do. And they give you half an hour for each. Okay. Okay, I pulled these directly from the GRE website, just as far as the test design features, how many questions per section. You have 20 questions, you get 30 minutes. That's not bad. It's more than a minute per question. That's also why it takes so long. They give you time.
For the verbal reasoning, sometimes you have to fill a blank. And it's sometimes they ask you to work being the same. Do they count, let's see if you do one wrong, do they count that? Do they do half points? Or do they count that wrong?
I don't know. I don't know if they give you partial credit.
Because
They should. They should. I don't know if they do. So that would be another situation where I have to get 3 of these right in order to get a point. I'm going to go on to one that only has 1 blank because I'm not sure. If you know all 3 and you're pretty confident, then yeah, answer it, get it done. But there again, I would kind of weigh that, and we can see if we can find out that answer. We can call. As far as the features go, we're always told that you should preview the section before you start taking it. How many of you do that in your test that you're taking?
What do you mean, like read through it before you answer it?
Do you guys read through your test before you start answering questions? Most of us don't. We just get in there, we're gonna get it done. I would say try and undo that programming. Practice right now with exams that you have. Read the headings. Read the beginning questions. Flip to the middle, read the middle questions. Flip to the end, read the end questions before you start answering. It's really hard to make yourself do that because you're like, it's time, I want to get it down, But sometimes that really does help you to slow down, get a concept of where the test is going.
If you put in an answer and you change your mind later, you can go back.
Yes.
That's right.
And you can go back and change answers. Yeah, that's right here. Ability to change and edit answers within a section. Now, once you complete a section, it's done. Okay, once you move on, it's done. You can't go back, even if you have extra time. So say you've done one of the quantitative reasoning, you go on to another section, you want to go back? No, you're done. Okay, once the section closes, you're done. Any other questions about that? Money! This is the fun part. Money, money, money. Okay, the cost of the test right now is $195. Okay, it's expensive, so make it count. Okay, you don't want to, I've scheduled my GRE, I'm just going to see how it goes. Put some effort into it. It's expensive. It's expensive. There also are fees if you reschedule. There are fees if you change your location. And there are times where locations fill up and don't take any more people. Okay? So be aware of that. Schedule in advance. You can take the GRE in our testing center. Not the classroom testing center, but the other testing center. Okay? There's a difference. There's a difference. There are retest options, there's lots of prep materials, but take the, kind of take it with a grain of salt, because you can spend as much money as you want. There are programs out there that are $500 that promise you to raise your score by such and such a point. Be leery about that, okay? If it sounds too expensive, it is, okay? There are some good materials though. Check into the fee reduction. Like I say, it's expensive, check into that. They've got a waiver that you can do for some of the cost. I don't think there's any free options, but they will waive some of the cost. Okay, so tips and hints. Don't wait too long. Yeah?
How far in advance do we have to, schedule or plan to take the year?
Okay, you have to schedule, I think you have to schedule a week in advance. You can reschedule or cancel up to 4 days before you take the exam, and they'll give you half your money back. But not all of it. Sooner is better. The sooner you plan it, the more prep time you have, the more time you have to arrange your schedule, nothing else happens on that day. Most people that I work with schedule their test 2 months in advance from when they want to take it. That way they know they can take it when they choose. They're not in that situation where, ooh, this is the only slot that's open for me. Okay, because you want to, it's kind of like it also puts you in the right mindset. If you're choosing when you're going to take it, you're going in there with more of a power mindset. I'm in charge, I'm going to do well, this is when I've got it scheduled. Study with a partner or group. A lot of us tell ourselves we're going to study and then we never do. Okay, there's always other papers to write, other things to do. So study with a group. You may not wear a digital watch. Their security is tighter than airport security. So.
But when you take it, say you take the GRE, and I think you maybe hit on this earlier, but you don't like your score, how soon can you retake?
How soon you can, there is a limit. Gosh, what is that limit? Because there is one. You cannot, if you take the GRE, don't do well, you cannot turn around and take it the next week. I think it might be 30 days, but I'm not positive about that. I would look on the site, I'm sure they have it, because I know they have a limitation, I just don't know what it is. So know that. That's another reason to test early, because if you don't get the score you want, you've got an application that's due in 3 months, you can take it again before you're in trouble.
Yeah, I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard you have to wait 30 days.
I think it is 30
And you can only say it 5 times in a year.
Yeah. You don't want to do more than that anyway, oh my gosh.
Seriously.
Yeah, so make it count. But, but also do what you need to do. If you need a certain score to go to a certain school and that's your dream school, do it. There are people that take it multiple times. I recommend you bring 4 sharpened pencils, just like the regular testing center though, they do not want mechanical pencils. They will not allow you to use them. Okay? Bring 2 forms of ID. Don't show up with just your driver's license. Okay, because number 1,
Government issued IDs?
they need to be, they have a list of what's acceptable. Driver's license, birth certificate, passport, I think is one of them. I'm not sure if Social Security card is accepted or not.
21 days.
That's how soon you can take it, 21 days?
Every 21 days after previous taking it, 5 times every 4 months.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Like I said, be prepared. The security is pretty strict. If they see what they think is a lump in your pocket, they're going to check it out. Okay, so just be prepared for that. That's true. Any other questions that I can answer for you guys?
When you're taking the test, do they give you like a 5-minute warning of when the test, how much time you have left per section?
There will be a way to track your time. Sometimes it's on your computer, and they do give you breaks. Okay, so don't think that you're going to be chained to the desk for 4 hours. Okay, they do give you breaks, but you're not allowed to go very far. You can't leave the building. So you do have, you can get a drink. those kinds of things.
The one here at Dixie's on the computer, right?
Yeah, well, you can always opt for the paper test, but why? There's very limited options as far as scheduling your test if you do the paper test. There's also like, you don't get your score as soon. Almost everybody does the computer test. It's faster. It's just better all the way around. Dave?
Would you recommend or possibly suggest taking a break between graduation and taking the GRE?
This is a trick question. Okay, I'm gonna give you a very scientific answer. It depends. Okay, there are some programs that do recommend that you take a break. Business majors are supposed to take a break before they go on to their master's program. It's actually recommended for them. It just depends upon you, okay? A lot of your professors will say, don't take a break. The reason they say that is because when you take a break, sometimes it's hard to go back. Okay, it's hard to get back in the saddle. It's hard to sign up for homework again. You know, it's hard to stop making so much money because you're working, you know. So that's the reason a lot of, especially psych professors, recommend that you go straight through.
Well, I was kind of wondering because with the stress of finals and graduation coming up, they're
Yeah.
trying to add this on top of that.
Usually this is the semester before though. Typically if you're graduating in the spring, okay, the real push for you is going to be in the fall. And the fall is when a lot of traditional deadlines are. November 1st, you know, sometimes January 1st, so right after you know, the end of the semester. Some graduate schools have, you know, one application deadline for the year, okay? So they'll have a deadline in November. You don't start the program till September the next year, okay? Other graduate programs have what we call rolling enrollment. So they accept applications kind of on a constant basis. And others have maybe 3 accepted dates a year, and you start with a cohort and progress through. It just depends on how your program's designed. Back on the take a break or not, there are some people who recommend you go straight through because if you take a year off and if you have loans, what's going to happen? You have to start paying them back. Now when you go back to school full time, they go back into deferment. But then they come out of deferment faster. Does that make sense? And usually you have only so much time that you can defer them, you know, once you start repaying them. So just be aware of that. The other problems that students face with graduate school, remember we talked about tuition costs are higher, okay? You also are limited to loans only. There are no grants as far as like Pell Grant money for graduate programs. No Pell Grants, but there are fellowships.
Just keep talking.
Yeah, there are fellowships, there's teaching assistantships. A lot of you can get your graduate school paid for, okay? If you can, you know, go to a program that has that, and that's a question to ask when you're investigating schools. What percentage of your graduate students get fellowships? What percentage of your students get a housing stipend? There's all kinds of things that they offer.
Is there something like scholarship or anything like that for grad school?
They are very few and very far between. Not that they aren't out there, they are, but they're a lot harder to find than for your undergraduate program.
I heard that a lot of graduate schools don't let you work while you're going to graduate school.
That's correct. Some of them don't, some of them, but you can always find, you know, there are some that are designed for people who are working. So, but yeah, there are some that say, no, this is your job. And a lot of times you're so busy, you know, you're teaching 10 classes, you know, along with taking your own classes, so, and doing research and all kinds of things, so a lot of times you don't have time for work.
I know that PsyCI offers grants and scholarships for graduate students as well as undergrads. So.
Yep, PsyCI
Part of
does.
PsyCI, you should join.
Yep. Okay, PsyCI is the International Honor Society for Psychology. So you can apply as soon as you have 3 psych credits. You typically are going to be a second semester sophomore at least when you apply. There are GPA cutoffs. Let's see. For sophomores, I think it's 3.2. For juniors, it's 3.42. For seniors right now, it's 3.6. So the sooner you apply, the easier it is to get in, and once you're in, it's not like they're gonna take it away. And you're a lifetime member. And also, if you apply for government jobs, if you are a PsyCI member, sometimes you get a bump in pay or an automatic, what we call G7. So that can be nice.
Do some of the grad schools take like a,
You know, and a degree that really won't get them what they want to. Well, my advisor told me if I got a master's in educational psychology that I could be a high school counselor. That's not true. It's not true, at least not in the state of Utah. So make sure you do your homework. Another thing, when you're looking at graduate programs, you always want to be aware of accreditation. Master's programs are going to be accredited by either the school or they're going to be accredited by the national accrediting body. So if you're looking at, like, say you're looking at a degree, a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, okay, they have an accrediting body for marriage and family therapy programs. Make sure your program's accredited. If you're looking at clinical mental health counseling, you're looking at, what is the acronym? KCREP certified. If you're looking at PhD programs, the APA board does accredit PhD programs. And you can go to apa.org, they've got search engines for it. You can search by program, you can search by degree, you can search by state. You know, use those resources. But don't get overwhelmed. There's a lot of information online, so don't get overwhelmed.
Do you have any best prep for the GRE that you would recommend with someone?
Kaplan usually is decent and usually not too expensive. If you're on a really tight budget, I do have a list of free or super low cost GRE helps that I can send to you. I haven't updated it in probably 2 years, so some of the links may be outdated. I know, like, for here, all the schools and all the libraries here in Washington County, okay, it's a consortium, they have an e-resource that has GRE prep in it. I'm not sure how up to date it is though, but it would have practice math problems, practice writing problems, and it's on the computer, which is nice too. So, and all you need to get a library card at the public libraries here, you need your driver's license, and then you need a proof of residency. And it can even be just something that's been mailed to you from your mother or anybody. From yourself, I've even seen when I used to work there. You can mail a letter to yourself and get a library card, okay? There are some resources here at our library as well, but I haven't found any good ones online, at least not as many as the consortium has, so. And if any of you have questions about that, you know, come and see me. Come and see me in my office. I'll pull it up and show you how to navigate it. Any other questions? Now that you're all shocked. People take the GRE every day, and they do just fine, okay? Just plan ahead, plan early.
You mentioned study groups, like there are some that meet here, because I've been looking and I don't know where.
Yeah, we have one group that's meeting in the psychology department. They meet at 4 o'clock on Fridays, okay? If we can get enough interest going, we'll start another one during the day. So you can either get in contact with me or with our other advisor, Erin Combs, and we can get you connected to a study group, because it really does make a difference. You know? That way too, if you do writing prompts, you can swap, get feedback. It's really important, especially for the analytical writing. You know, there's nothing really you can do to practice for that other than to do it, and that's really hard to make yourself do by yourself.
Mine's the math, if any of you guys are good at math.
Well, and our study group is bringing in math tutors as well. So, and there's tutors in the tutoring center. I mean, that's another service that you pay for with your student fees. It's free. There's all kinds of books if you need sample problems. If you can't remember how to do it, go to the math tutor. Say, hey, I'm studying for the GRE. I can't remember, you know, to use cosine or tangent or what I'm doing
I
here.
remember what those mean.
Yeah. Yeah, so make use of those free resources. The test is expensive enough.
It's like the wording on the math stuff. Like you're like, you know, like what are they actually trying to say? And then you're like, oh, that was it. It was just, you know, it was just like oh, right.
The other nice part about being part of a group is you can exchange resources. You know, hey, I've got this test prep book. You've got this test prep book. Let's swap. Hey, I'm using this section of the cards. You take this section of the vocabulary cards. You know, work together. Work together. That's usually how you make it through grad school. You know, is by working together. So might as well start now. Help each other. David.
We are on E-scores too. The grad schools look at only the overall, or do they look at the scores per section?
Most of the time, they're looking at you'll get a math score and you'll get a language score. So usually they're looking at in that summary form. They're usually not looking at the breakdown. A lot of times you don't even see the breakdown.
I was told they take the 2 sections, combine them, and then it's the one. Is that?
Some of them do, but some of them will look at the 2 separate scores. And there again, remember that the GRE score is only one part of your application, okay? There are some schools that say if you have this GPA, you don't need to take the GRE. Others, you know, no matter who you are, you take the GRE. Okay, but it's only one piece. It's only one piece. You have your personal statement, your letters of recommendation, those other things that are also going into the package. Okay? So. I know, it's tough, but it's, you know, like I say, people take it every day and it's okay. It's okay. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to come and see me.
Wait,
No,
wait,
we'll look it up.
Wait, sorry. I have a couple lists over there. There's a calendar, PsychClub stuff. There's a list, if you want to sign up, if you're interested in the GRE group, put your name down. If you want a lovely PsychClub t-shirt, you can put your name down. Thank you for.
Oh, you bet.
A lot of good information. Oh, and if you're interested in SciTech, you can talk to me or Professor Puglisi.
And me before you apply.
Yeah.
I'm the one that checks you off for GPA.
Does anyone have any questions for me?
I'm already in the GRE section.
So, write your name down if you're interested. Grab a calendar, grab some snacks. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, you bet.
I'll be right back.
Sign up for the GRE if you want to study group. If you want to